wpget web dev tutorials for all user levels. Okay, so today a quick tutorial. That frustrating thing with Elementor where when you have scroll to links, so for example if I click on antennas here, it scrolls to the antenna section. If I click on advertise, it scrolls into advertise. I've got a transparent header up here, so it's a absolutely positioned transparent header. Where my anchor is on this advertise header here, but when I click advertise, it scrolls up behind the header to the top of the screen. Where I want to put it is about there below the header, but because Elementor defaults to a smooth scroll when you click on anchors, it gets in the way of any code that you would put in there to change that behavior. And unfortunately, there's just no way in Elementor to switch that off. There's no switch for it. There's no class or attribute you can add to any of these to disable them. So you have to do a bit of a hack. And it's a quick one, but so my code box here, I've got just zoom in on that a bit. So basically what we have to do is our typical closure for JavaScript that we would normally use. We have to add an event listener on window. So W again, I always use window and document and pass those in as W and D. So on the window event listener, we've got to listen for Elementor front end in it. And if that doesn't exist, we don't want to generate any errors. So we're just going to return if that Elementor front end doesn't exist at that point. If it does, we want to use one of the Elementor event listeners. So this is not a DOM event listener, or it is a Elementor JavaScript event listener. And we listen for components colon init. And when that runs, what we're going to do is tell it to go to the utils, anchors, settings, and we've got to select the targets, selectors targets, and just set it to any dummy selector. And that basically stops it from finding your anchors and doing the smooth scroll on it. So it's a bit of a workaround, hack around to tell Elementor not to do the smooth scroll. So that's the first bit, to disable Elementor by default smooth scrolling on every click on a anchor that's got a hash in it. So what we then do is on the window load, I could probably do DOM content load here if I wanted to as well. I've got to set an offset, so the offset will be how far from the top of the screen I want this to scroll to. I then get a list of all of the documents that have got a href starting with a hash. So anything that's got a hash or ID link in it. So we get a collection of those. We go through each of those and add a click event listener, our own click event listener. Prevent the default. We get on the click, we get the current target or whatever it is that triggered the click. And then we got to get the hash from the scroll target. So whatever that was, so it could be href equals hash contact or hash antennas in this case. So we want to get the hash from it, and that will give us just this part and whatever the actual ID of that is. So we're going to get the document, query selector, current target hash. We're going to get the actual link we're trying to scroll to. We then need to figure out where is the top of this element compared to where we're scrolling in the actual document. This gets a little bit tricky. You can look this up yourself. So we're going to find from the scroll target, the bounding box, client rectangle, and the top. Now that's going to vary depending on the scroll position of the body. So what we're going to do is we want to add the body scroll top, and then we want to take away our top offset. So this, in this case, I've made it 250 pixels. Right, and then we're going to use the window scroll method to scroll to whatever top we've calculated, left of 0 with a smooth wave. So we're introducing our own smooth scroll with a offset of 250 pixels. So I'm going to enable that now. And we'll go back to this page here. Okay, so now I'll go to the services page. Now if I click on advertise, my advertise now is underneath the header. If I click on antennas, the antennas is in the correct place. And I'll just disable that again and show you the difference. And if I refresh here, so if I click on advertise, advertise disappears behind the header. Click on antennas, antennas disappears behind the header. If I enable this code, let's refresh. Now if I click on advertise, advertise sits here. If I click on antennas, antennas sits there. If I click on production, which is further down, production sits there. So it's a workaround, but it does work, and it gets rid of that frustration of your anchors that you're linking to going to the top of the page, particularly when you've got a transparent header that sits over the top of it, absolutely positioned header I should say, that sits over the top of it, because then you just can't see where you've linked to. Right, so that's pretty much it. I will share the code in my tutorial for this, so you can use that if you want to, and I hope that's something that's useful to you. If you like this, please subscribe and please hit the like button. Thank you.